Good morning, everyone. I'd like to begin today's meeting by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we are gathered and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. So, welcome to the Ordinary Council meeting of the 27th of July 2022. I declare this meeting open at 10 a.m. I'd like to advise meeting attendees that this meeting is being webcast and audio recorded. So I'd like to go into reflection now. So can the gallery please be upstanding if you're able to, and join me for a moment of contemplation. Recently, I was able to hear from a leading demographer, Simon Customaka, about emerging megatrends that are impacting the future growth of our cities. I took a lot from the presentation. I would like to share with you some of those learnings. It's no surprise that COVID has changed the world we live in. The settlement patterns of cities is just one more area where we are seeing significant changes. During the peak of the COVID pandemic, many businesses and government employees transitioned their workforce to working remotely, in many cases more seamlessly than expected, and work from home not only to become widely possible, but has also become the preferred way of working. What we saw in southeast Queensland is that these workers, who no longer needed to commute to Brisbane CBD every day, were willing to commute a longer distance or for perhaps 2 or 3 days a week rather than commute to their city-based jobs every day. Areas in the urban fringes become more attractive in a relatively short time, offering more affordable housing, larger lots and more green space. The growth was mainly driven by millennial families moving from their 1 or 2 bedroom inner city apartments to places like Logan, where they could still find a large family home close to schools and parks. While growth comes with many opportunities, it's important that government acts fast to stay ahead of the growth. We don't want to find ourselves in a position like Melbourne or Sydney, where population growth outpaced the delivery of infrastructure growth for a decade. The size of a city's population must never be an excuse for traffic jams or other problems. It's underdone infrastructure investments which is to blame. Thank you, councillors. You may see. I note that Councillor Lane requires a leave of absence for today's meeting due to being on leave as arranged in 2021. Do any councillors have a leave of absence to declare? No. So is there a mover for the motion as now displayed on the screen? Councillor Murphy has moved the motion. Do I have a second the motion? Councillor Raven second the motion. I put the matter to the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That has been carried unanimously, therefore the motion has been carried. I now refer to condolences. Do any councillors have a condolence to raise? I will start with Councillor Bradley, Councillor Russell, Councillor Karansky. You may stand.
Mr Mayor, I'd like to ask that condolences be forwarded to the Cochrane family. It's with a heavy heart I advise of the passing of Lachlan Cochrane. Lockie passed away on Sunday the 17th of July. The Yarrabilba State Secondary College student was involved in a tragic e-scooter crash on the 12th of July, and despite emergency brain surgery and days of fighting for life, Lachlan succumbed to his injuries on July 17th. A memorial was held at the Yarrabilba State Secondary College for the student, who was affectionately known as Big Lock. People laid flowers, tributes and photos in memory of Lachlan. A remembrance service will be held this Saturday, the 13th of July at Shaw Street Oval from 1 p.m. But what I would like to say is acknowledging Lachlan's rugby league club, which was the Browns Plains Bears, who gave a very touching tribute to their fallen teammate with a minute's silence before last weekend's game. Mr Mayor, it would be appreciated if we could pass on our formal condolences to the Cochrane family at this very
That will be
sad
done,
time.
Councillor Karansky. Any other condolences? No? Okay, thank you. Can we now have a moment of reflection in honour of those who have passed? Thank you, Councillors. You may be seated. Councillors, I now open the floor to congratulations. I'll start with Councillor Bradley.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Could congratulations please be passed on to 4 Year 6 students from Chatswood Hills State School who, through their hard work and dedication, will be representing Queensland at state-level championships. These students are Isaac Matthews, representing Queensland in Rugby League, Lena Alchemy in squash, Indiana Pont in netball, and Nono Sai in tennis. I wish them all the best in their competition. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Mr Mayor, I have two today. I'd like to request that congratulations be forwarded to Principal Dan Walker, Director of Music, Dr Katrina Padell, and the team at Canterbury College on celebrating 35 years with their anniversary concert. Canterbury College recently had their 35th anniversary and celebrated with a concert held on Monday the 25th of July at QPAC's Concert Hall. It was a fabulous celebration showcasing the college's rich history with performances by current music and dance students, as well as special appearances by alumni, including Kira Lang, Ella Yorish, and the compere for the evening was 2017 college captain William Glass. Will shared stories and highlights from the past 35 years, captivating the audience between each musical performance. I'm always stunned by the calibre of creative talent within the Canterbury College environment, led by Director of Music, Dr Katrina Padell.
That will be sent.
Now, Mr Mayor, it's a little bit unusual for me to acknowledge council officers because so many of our council officers do a wonderful job day in, day out. But recently a resident wrote to me and I'd just like to share some of their words of congratulations. I received the below email from Park Ridge Connect and I'd like to read it in full. Park Ridge Connect recently applied for funding from Logan City Council Community Grants Funds and received a response from Cowa Powdrill, interested in more information about our organisation and the project we wanted to fund. She asked to meet with our team, and I mentioned that it would be easier to get them out on the weekend while they were already gathered for a project. I suggested that she could meet us for a morning tea after the project on the Sunday morning. She asked further about what we were doing, and when I explained that we were sending teams of volunteers out to residents' homes to mow grass, wash windows and cook meals, she volunteered to join us, and not only that, signed up her husband and kids too. Cara, Josh and the kids worked hard with the other volunteers and served with love and enthusiasm. I was really impressed that a council employee would be willing to come and meet with our team on a weekend, but her joy in bringing her family out to work with us before the meeting was next level. I want to make sure that her passion for her work and her love for Logan City were noted and recognised. Cara has demonstrated a genuine care and enthusiasm for our community that is above and beyond her job. On behalf of Park Ridge Connect, I want to thank Cara for her service and encouragement. It means a lot to us. And thank you to those of you who have built the kind culture that allows people like Cara to exist and the freedom for them to love the people of Logan through their roles. I can't imagine as a councillor, being any more proud of our council and being part of this council. On behalf of my fellow councillors, I'd like to say huge congratulations and thank you to Cara, Josh, Ruben and Eli for all you do and all our officers do for the city. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Kransky. Any more congratulations? Councillor Hall.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to send congratulations to the Bethany Community Centre, who hosted their annual Christmas in July celebration. When they do this, they provide a meal for people who may choose to have it, who may choose to want it. And this year we had a special occasion where I got up and sung some Kenny Loggins Footloose, and anyone who can sit through that deserves congratulations.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Councillor Fraser, Councillor Herrimeyer, Councillor Bannon, Councillor Stamp.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I have two today. I'd firstly like to congratulate the Carbrook Golf Club on 30 years of ownership. While the club has a history dating back to the late 1970s, the Carbrook Golf Club purchased the property the golf course sits on from the original owner, Mr Tom Smith, in 1982. This saw the members of the Carbrook Golf Club become the owners of the 92 hectares of land, including the clubhouse, which opened in 1987, and the original 18-hole golf course, and one of very few member-owned golf clubs established in Queensland in the last 60 years. The Carbrook Golf Club has gained worldwide recognition as the only known golf course that has water hazards with bull sharks living in them, adding a unique element to your round of golf. Mr Mayor, the last 30 years has been a journey of achievement, challenges, floods and plenty of tough times for this club. However, like any truly successful club, it's the people that make it special. I would like to congratulate General Manager Scott Wagstaff and all the members for their hard work and commitment to the club in the past and wish them all the best with their plans for the future. Secondly, Mr Mayor, I'd like to ask congratulations be passed on to Logan Lightning Football Club NPL men's team, who have made it into the Australia Cup round of 32. This is a fantastic achievement, with Logan qualifying for the national stages for the first time. Mr Mayor, it has been a long road to reach the pointy end of the draw, with cup fixtures beginning back in March when 742 teams put their hand up to be involved in Australia's Premier Cup competition. In a little over 8 hours, the team will be kicking off against Adelaide City FC in round 32 of the Australia Cup in the Marsden Sports Complex in Adelaide. You can tune in to watch it live on 10 Play with kick-off at 7:30, or join me and the other supporters at Cornubia Sports Park to cheer them on from afar. It's fantastic to see our professional sporting teams being such great ambassadors for Logan and gaining national recognition. I'd like to wish the team and the club all the best for tonight's game and the competition ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stamp. What time was that at the clubhouse? 7:30. And it's scary to know that Mr Tommy Smith, I knew Tommy Smith, who sold the golf course to Carbrook, and he was a lovable larrikin, I can say that. Councillor Wilcox? Councillor Murphy? No? Okay, thank you. That finishes congratulations. And now refer to the minutes of the previous ordinary council meeting. I move that the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on the 22nd of June 2022 be confirmed. Is there a seconder for the motion? Councillor Stamp to second the motion. Does anyone wish to speak to the motion? No one wishes to speak to the motion. Now I open the matter to the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously. Therefore, the motion has been carried. I also confirmation of the previous special council meeting. I now refer to, which was the budget, as we know. I now refer to the minutes of the previous special council meeting. I move that the minutes of the special council meeting held on the 20th of June 2022 be confirmed. Is there a seconder for the motion? Councillor Wilcox has seconded the motion. Anyone wish to speak to the motion? No one wishes to speak to the motion. I now put the matter to the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously. Therefore, the motion has been carried. Thank you. We have no business arising from the minutes to consider. So now we'll go into the committee reports. So we'll go straight to the City Planning report. I now refer to the City Planning, Economic Development and Environment Committee meeting held on the 19th of June 2022. Councillor Raven, Chairperson of the City Planning, Economic Development and Environment Committee, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Before we move into discussion, do any councillors have any new conflicts of interest they'd like to declare? There being none, I will now speak to the recommendations. Mr Mayor, I spoke very highly of the Mayor's Employment Task Force during the committee, and I just want to reinforce that again. Since the committee meeting, I've had 4 more referrals come through to my office, and Paul Bailey, who's the staff member, who's doing an amazing job in that team, has already found jobs for 2 of those 4 people. He's doing an incredible job, and as I said in the committee, Mr Mayor, it was really an idea that came from you wanting to make a meaningful impact on the unemployment levels in Logan and cut out the ineffective systems that we see with the job seeker networks to connect employers to people who want to work. It's pretty simple, but it's working very well, and I feel you deserve all of the praise that we can heap on you for that great idea, Mr Mayor. I have no further comments.
Any other councillors wish to make any comments on the recommendations? No? I hand it back to you, Councillor Raven.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I now move that 1, the minutes of the City Planning, Economic Development and Environment Committee meeting held on the 19th of July be confirmed, and 2, that the recommendations of the City Planning, Economic Development and Environment Committee meeting held on the 19th of July 2022.
Thank you, Councillor Raven. Councillor Raven has moved the motion. Do I have a second of the motion? Councillor Murphy has seconded the motion. Anyone wish to speak to the motion? No one wish to speak to the motion. I now put the matter to the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously. Is there any councillors wish to state their name against any of the recommendations in the committee? Councillor Stemp.
Yes, Mr Mayor, I'd like my name against 4.2, please.
That will be done. Any further? No? Okay, thank you. I now refer to the City Infrastructure Committee meeting held on the 19th of July 2022. Councillor Fraser, Acting Chairperson of the City Infrastructure Committee, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Before we move into discussion, do any councillors have any new conflicts of interest to declare on any items? Please advise the item number only at this stage. There being none, I'll now speak to the recommendations. Mr Mayor, during committee, there are a couple of confidential reports to consider which we cannot discuss here. However, in open session, we saw a presentation on the concealed leak remission policy. Based on this discussion, we asked for a future report on a concealed leak insurance proposal to enable better overall policy coverage. And in GB, there was a request for a report from Councillor Jeremiah on road closure processes. And that's there.
That's it. No worries. Thanks, Councillor Fraser. Any other councillors wish to make any comments on any of the recommendations, committee reports? No. I'll hand it back to you, Councillor Fraser.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I now move number 1, that the minutes of the City Infrastructure Committee meeting held on the 19th of July 2022 be confirmed. And number 2, that the recommendations of the City Infrastructure Committee meeting held on the 19th of July 2022 be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Fraser. Councillor Fraser has moved the motion. Does anyone wish to second the motion? Councillor Stemp has seconded the motion. Anyone wish to speak to the motion? No one wish to speak to the motion. I now put the matter to the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously. Any councillors wish to state their name against any of the recommendations? Councillor Wilcox.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I was actually absent for 4.2, 5.1 and 7.1.
Okay, any other councillors? No? Okay, thank you, councillors. We'll now go to City Lifestyle and now refer to the City Lifestyle Committee meeting held on the 20th of July 2022. Councillor Karansky, Chairperson of the City Lifestyle Committee, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Before we move into discussion, do any councillors have any new conflicts of interest to declare? There being none, I'll now speak to the recommendations. At the City Lifestyle Committee last week, councillors were provided with a presentation from the Libraries and Creative Industries team sharing the proposed Logan Art Gallery program for 2023. The program follows 2 major themes: exploring the diversity of the work of Logan artists and bringing to Logan significant touring exhibitions from around Australia. I'm really looking forward to sharing these remarkable exhibits with the community next year, and I'm sure that a number of councils will be getting along to those events. The City Standards and Animal Care team presented a report seeking Council's endorsement to make a minor amendment to Council's local law to limit heavy vehicle parking in the Springwood locality. This report recommended a minor amendment to a subordinate local law that relates to heavy vehicle parking. This amendment ensures Council's heavy vehicle local laws reflect community expectations and strategic planning objectives. Council's received a further report pertaining to Stage 2 of the Beenleigh Aquatic Centre redevelopment for inclusion of a 50-metre pool and development opportunities. I really look forward to sharing further information with the community, as I'm sure the area councillor does, in due course. Councillors were also provided with an update on the Eaglebee Aquatic Centre. The update report provided an overview of the history of the site, details of the temporary closure, and recommendations for Council's consideration with regard to the future of the facility. This information will be shared with the community in due course. At the end of the City Lifestyle Committee meeting, we thanked outgoing Community Services Director Katie Barton-Harvey for her service over the past 4 years, and today I'd formally like to welcome Brad White as the Acting Director of Community Services. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Kransky. Mr White's up in the background, smiling like a Cheshire cat. Thank you. Any other councillors wish to make any comments? No? Back to you, Councillor Kransky.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I now move that the minutes of the City Lifestyle Committee meeting held on the 20th of July be confirmed, and that the recommendations of the City Lifestyle Committee meeting held on the 20th of July be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Kransky. Councillor Kransky has moved the motion. I have a second of the motion. Councillor Hall has seconded the motion. Does anyone wish to speak to the motion? No. I now put the matter to the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously. Now I'll ask councillors if they wish to record their name against any of the resolutions. I'll start with Councillor Stemp.
Mr Mayor, I'd like to know I was against 6.2, please.
Councillor Wilcox.
I was also against 6.2.
And Councillor Murphy.
I was strongly against 6.2.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that completes that. We'll now go to City Governance. I now refer to the City Governance Committee meeting held on the 20th of July 2022. Councillor Murphy, Acting Chairperson of the City Governance Committee, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Before we move into discussion, do any councillors have any new conflicts of interest on items? Please advise the item number only at this stage. There being none, I will now speak to the recommendations. Firstly, I'd like to say thank you for being patient with me for my first ever chairing of a meeting. It was a large agenda and it was a lengthy process, with the majority of the reports being in confidential. So, Mr Mayor, I will hand it back to you.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. As you heard from the Chair, Acting Chair, most of that was in confidential, so I'm not really expecting any other comments. No? Okay, Councillor Murphy, back to you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I now move that number 1, that the minutes of the City Governance Committee held on the 20th of July 2022 be confirmed, and that the recommendations of the City Governance Committee meeting held on the 20th of July 2022 be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. Councillor Murphy has moved the motion. Do I have the seconder to the motion? Councillor Wilcox has seconded the motion. Anyone wish to speak to the motion? No. I now put the matter to the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously. Now I will ask councillors if they'd like to record their name against any of the items raised. And I'm going to start with, I'll start with Councillor Bradley.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Can I abstain from 7.1? Thank you.
All right. Councillor Karansky.
I too would like to abstain from item 7.1, please.
Councillor Raven.
Abstain from 7.1.
Councillor Wilcox.
And I, from 7.1, abstain, sorry.
Okay. Okay, any further? No? Okay, that finishes that. Thank you, councillors. I now go to council reports. As you know, 11.1, we've got the appointment of committee chairperson vacancies and memberships. We have 2 council reports to consider on today's agenda. I now refer to 11.1. I invite Chief Executive Officer Mr Darren Scott to join the discussion. But before we do, we move into discussion. I'd like to acknowledge that in accordance with section 150 EF bracket D bracket 3 of the Local Government Act 2009 Queensland, this item is considered ordinary business and therefore conflicts of interest are not required to be called or notified, and all councillors can participate in the discussion and vote on this item. So I now refer to Mr Scott to open discussion. Mr Scott, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This is the report dealing with the appointment of committee chairperson vacancies and memberships. There's, with the resignation of Councillor Wilcox as chairperson of City Governance Committee, there's now a vacancy in that position, as well as her membership of the Procurement and Appropriations Special Committee and the Audit and Risk Committee. We propose to deal with those vacancies in that order. Depending on the outcome of the chairperson process, there may also be a vacancy in the deputy chairperson of the City Governance Committee as well, and we'll deal with that at that time if that becomes vacant. So we've had one nomination as for chairperson of City Governance Committee, Councillor Murphy. Do any other councillors wish to nominate for that position? We'll add that to the motion. We'll deal with one single motion which hoovers up all of the appointments in one go. We also have the Procurement and Appropriations Special Committee, which is has a number of councillors on it, chaired by Councillor Jeremiah. There's a vacancy now with Councillor Wilcox resigning. Had one nomination for that membership, Councillor Murphy. Would anyone else like to add themselves to that committee? No. Yeah. We've got Councillor Bradley, Councillor Bannon, Councillor Fraser and Councillor Stemp currently on that committee. Okay, no other nominations. Councillor Murphy would be added to the resolution. There's also two members possible for the Audit and Risk Committee. Currently it's Councillor Murphy and Councillor Wilcox has left a vacancy. Councillor Murphy has indicated she'd like to continue on the Audit and Risk Committee. There's a second position available if anyone would like to nominate for the Audit and Risk Committee, maximum of 2.
Quick, get him before he changes his mind.
There's always a rush for that particular committee.
I've been on it.
Okay, Councillor Fraser has nominated the second member for the Audit and Risk Committee. Anybody else like to nominate? Councillor Fraser, we'll add that one in. Given we have got a chairperson now as Councillor Murphy, that would leave her deputy chairperson of the City Governance Committee vacant. Would anyone like to nominate as Deputy Chairperson of City Governance? We have one nomination already, Councillor Fraser as Deputy. Would anyone else like to nominate? No. That's the full suite of vacancies which you have positions for. If we just have a moment to put it up on the as a motion. You right to go? Okay. That covers it, Mr Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Mr CEO. As councillors can see the resolution up on the board, I'll wait for you to go through the whole page on that. Okay. Now, do I have any questions in regard? Sorry. Yep. Do I have any questions in regard to the resolution up on the board? No. Okay. Can I now ask that someone move the amended motion? Councillor Wilcox is moving the amended motion. Do I have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Bannon has seconded the motion. Now, does anyone want to speak to the motion? I take no. Okay, I'll put this matter to the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That has been carried unanimously, therefore the motion has been carried. Thank you. I'd like to, so we've actually done the Oh, no, we haven't. Okay, so we go to item 11.2, the Procurement and Appropriations Special Committee meeting recommendations of the 22nd of June 2022. I now refer to item 11.2. I invite Ms Tanika Rigney, Acting Administration Manager, to join the discussions. Before we open discussion on this item, do any councillors have a conflict of interest to declare? No conflicts. There being none, I now refer to Ms Rigney to open discussion, but it looks like Ms Rigney's had a transformation and it's now Mr Strachan. So, oh, hang on. So, Ms Rigney, would you like to provide us with your presence, as you have? And now you may proceed.
I apologise. Thank you through the chair. Welcome and thank you for bringing me. I do apologise. I probably just need to consult with Robert for one moment.
Through you, Mr Mayor, it's a pretty straightforward recommendation. Happy for it to go straight to
relax.
A mover and a seconder.
Okay. Councillors, do we have a mover for the motion? Councillor Heremiah has moved the motion. The seconder is Councillor Bradley. Anyone wish to speak to the motion? No one wishes to speak to the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously. Thank you, Ms Hickney. Sorry about putting you on the spot. I wasn't sure. I thought you might have wanted to say something, but I understand. So, councillors, that was the... so now we have the late reports. We have no late reports to consider. Do we have any petitions? No petitions, thank you. We have no notified motions to consider. I now refer to general business. Today we are starting with Councillor Bradley.
No general business, but that means I'm last next time, doesn't it? Thank you.
That's a dangerous spot. Okay. Councillor Russell.
Not today, Mr Mayor, thank you.
Councillor Karansky.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I do have an item of general business, but before I get there, I would just like to congratulate Councillor Murphy formally on her new appointment as Governance Chair, and I'd also like to congratulate Councillor Fraser in his new role as Deputy Chair. I think they'll do a fine job in the role. Mr Mayor, I actually have a declarable conflict of interest that I would like to read out to councillors for their consideration, if I may. Councillors, I wish to raise for your consideration a matter that relates to a conflict of interest. As you're all aware, I've often participated in public discussion regarding the Palm Lake communities of Bethany and Waterford, including the proposed rail trail that passes through state government land between the two communities. I do wish to advise, however, that my son has this week been successful in obtaining employment as a food services assistant at Palm Lake Care Bethany, commencing this role just yesterday. I therefore advise this meeting that I consider I have a declarable conflict of interest in respect of matters affecting the Palm Lake communities. I do not believe, however, that a reasonable person would form the view that due to my son's employment, I have a conflict between my personal interests or my son's personal interests and that of the public interest. Additionally, I believe that my participation in ongoing discussions around the Palm Lake communities, which comprises some 1,000 or so residents, is in the public interest. I therefore ask the meeting to consider this matter and particularly whether I can continue to take part in decisions. I'd like to stay in the meeting, however, please note that I will respect the decision of this meeting. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Karansky. Councillor Karansky has declared a conflict of interest. As this is not a matter which Councillor Karansky can decide, other than for the declarable conflict of interest, we now need to call for discussion. We must now decide if it is in the public interest whether Councillor Karansky participates and votes on the matter at the meeting, despite that conflict of interest, or be requested to leave the meeting and not participate in the discussion or vote on the matter. I now open the floor to council to discuss. I will also require someone to move a motion and to provide a reason for the decision. So, councillors, does anyone wish to discuss or raise any questions with Councillor Karansky? I will go to Councillor Bradley first and then Councillor Raven.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just want to ask a question of Councillor Karansky, if that's all Will your son actually benefit from the rail trail in any way?
If I may, my son will actually be working in the area that is the high care area, which is separate to the Bethania Palm Lakes community and separate also to the Bethania Waterford community, and he'll be working in kitchen service, so no, he will not receive a benefit.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and Councillor Bradley and I were thinking the same thoughts. I was trying to understand how Alex's role could possibly be impacted by the arrival of the rail trail, and thank you for clarifying it's not. I'm happy to move that Councillor Karansky be allowed to stay in the meeting and vote and interact on the matter moving forward. Do you want me to put that motion, or have you got one prepped? The reason being that the public interest is served by the divisional councillor being involved in this matter, and that the nature of the conflict is not significant enough to impact her private or public interests. Do you want me to email it to you?
Just, yeah, if you could just repeat that again.
So the public interest is served by the divisional councillor being involved in this matter. The nature of the conflict is not significant enough to impact her her personal or her public interests.
Okay.
Thank you,
I'll
Mr.
give
Mayor.
time
Happy to move that when
for
you're
the
ready.
councillors to read that, and then I will ask if any discussion on that or any questions on that before we put it to the vote. I must say we've put the minute clerk under a bit of pressure here.
Still there.
In the matter that's got smatter. Okay.
Mr Mayor, I've just got a question for Councillor Karansky first. Councillor Karansky, just wondering, will you personally benefit at all from Alexander's employment at Palm Lake?
Presumably my son will be paid for his employment and his engagement, so he will retain remuneration for the work that he provides there. Beyond that, I can't see how I would personally benefit from my son working there.
Okay, any further questions before we put it to vote? No? Okay. So Councillor Raven has moved this. Do I have a seconder to the motion? Councillor Hall has seconded the motion. Now I put this matter to the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried in unanimously except for Councillor Heremiah. Councillor Heremiah, how do you vote?
Abstain.
Sorry, Councillor Heremiah has abstained from the vote. Okay, thank you, councillors. Any further general business, Councillor Karansky?
Thank you, Mr Mayor, with your indulgence. Mr Mayor, I wish to provide the committee with an update today on the Bethania to Logan Village rail trail. As councillors are aware, Council commissioned a feasibility study for the rail trail utilising the existing rail corridor between Bethania and Logan Village. The feasibility study was subsequently provided to the state government for consideration together with other rail trail projects from across the state. The state government announced in its budget at the end of June, which included a commitment to match council's funding allocation for the rail trail. So now the real work begins and we get down to designing and constructing the trail. Council will now commence activities to progress the project to design. As indicated, Council will formally engage with the community and seek input on considerations important to the community whilst undertaking the detailed design work. In other words, stakeholder groups will be engaged formally to understand any concerns and provide their feedback and their ideas. Council is also keen to hear from individual residents who will be invited to have their say as part of the consultation process through online and various other platforms. I would like to encourage everyone with an interest in the rail trail to take part in the upcoming community survey, which I'm pleased to announce is anticipated to commence in late August. Councillors, the Bethany to Logan Village Rail Trail forms part of a significant commitment to cycling across the city by Council and the State Government. New dedicated cycling infrastructure has been committed adjacent to the rail line from Beenleigh to Salisbury as part of the Faster Rail project, along Logan-Lee Road from the Logan-Lee train station to the M1, and a new V1 adjacent to the Pacific Motorway through Springwood, Daisy Hill and Slacks Creek, connecting with the existing V1 through to Brisbane CBD. The Bethania to Logan Village Rail Trail is an exciting project for our local community to enjoy, the city to enjoy, and visitors from further afield to enjoy. I'm looking forward to moving into the formal community consultation phase of this project, and once again I thank my councillor colleagues for their ongoing support. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Kerensky. Councillor Raven. Councillor Hall. Councillor Fraser. Councillor Hiremai, Councillor Bannon, Councillor Stemp, Councillor Wilcox.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Firstly, I'd like to congratulate Councillor Murphy on being appointed Chair of as being City Governance Chair now, not my Deputy anymore, and to Councillor Fraser for being the Deputy Chair. But this is what I've been talking about: successful capacity building, succession planning, upskilling for our councillor team to grow and to learn and to work for the betterment of the City of Logan. This decision hasn't been made on being male or female, young or old, or who is more popular. This is about the best person for the position of chair and who has the experience and the knowledge to fill that role. We should all ensure that we're taking a holistic approach to our positions for the betterment of council and for our community. Councillor Murphy has been invested in the governance team as much as I have over the past 18 months, and I thank her for everything that she has done, and now I wish her the well in her stewardship as the Governance Committee Chair. The changing of the chair position doesn't need to be a disruptive process at all. In fact, this has been a successful example of how the handing over of the reins of a chair position can be. An introduction of new ideas, new strategies and a fresh approach. I hope that all councillors will support Councillor Murphy in her new role as chair, as I will, and as the community has come to expect from all of us, to see us as a council doing our very best for the city of Logan. And I wish Councillor Murphy and Councillor Fraser all the best of luck in their new roles. That being said, Friday morning, 4:45 a.m. is the Commonwealth Games opening ceremony. I'm not sure that I'll get up for it, but I might watch it on replay a bit later. So I would like to wish all of the athletes that are competing the very best of luck, but a special shout out to the following Logan athletes who will be competing. We have Jack and Angela Yu, who are both siblings, who are both competing in their first games in badminton. Gosh, I hope I say these names correctly. Apologies if I don't. Alyssa Lofau-Fakasalia in the women rugby sevens. Kurt Thompson in wheelchair basketball. Ebony Gorinku competing in women's weightlifting. Tennille Crace competing in women's heptathlon. Ash Maloney competing in men's decathlon. And to the other Logan athletes who started their games journey in Logan but are now living somewhere else, most of all in Queensland, we wish them the very best of luck at all as well. And for that, we've got Molly O'Callaghan and Shayna Jack and anyone else I've missed. I'm truly sorry. But we wish you all the very best. Do Logan, Queensland and Australia proud and bring home the medal haul. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wilcox. And just want to say, we're a bit concerned about Ash Maloney. He's got a bit of an injury, according to the paper. So, yeah, a bit concerned with our Logan Sports Star of the Year. I'm just a bit worried. Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Mr Mayor, councillors, CEO and staff, I'd just like to say, firstly, thank you for supporting me in the position of the Governance Chair, and I look forward to working with Councillor Fraser as well. I believe I will deliver a smooth transition to the organisation with the experience of being a Deputy Chair, and I can build on the important work that has already started on next year's budget. I've worked closely with the governance team and Director Robert and built a solid rapport with council officers to ensure that we can get the best outcome for our 340,000 residents of Logan. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. That nearly concludes the meeting, but it'd be remiss of me to remind everyone that this is Council's 800th Ordinary Council meeting. I'm going to make a prediction there. I won't be here for the 1000th. But so obviously to all those councillors before us and to yourselves, congratulations. And it's a big milestone. And of course, 8 is a lucky number for the Chinese. So the meeting went well. So I'll now conclude the meeting at 10:45 a.m. Thank you.